You've seen it in the movies. The hero steps into a tomb, triggers a hidden plate, and bam! Poison darts fly, the floor collapses into a spike pit, and the walls start closing in. We are used to thinking of pyramids as deadly obstacle courses, but the reality of archaeology is much scarier and much quieter. Let's travel back to the year 820 AD. Caliph al-Ma'mun stands at the foot of the Great Pyramid. He is convinced that inside lie the lost sciences of Atlantis, star maps, and mountains, literal mountains of gold. His men hammer at the stone for months. They pour vinegar on the granite and light fires to crack the rock with thermal shock. It is hellish work. Finally, they break through. They rush inside. Torches light up the ancient darkness. Their hearts are pounding, but they are met with nothing. The king's chamber is open. The massive sarcophagus sits without its lid. No mummy, no gold, just a thick layer of dust. Someone had beaten the caliph to it, and they beat him not by a year, but by thousands of years. Today, we are investigating the crime of the millennium. We will deconstruct the pyramid security system. We will find out exactly what was taken from Khufu's tomb, and we will understand why the strongest fortress in human history fell victim to simple human greed. To understand how the pyramid was robbed, you first have to understand how it was defended. Khufu's architects were not naive. They knew that the moment the pharaoh closed his eyes, the hunt for his gold would begin. So the pyramid was designed not as a temple, but as a giant bank vault. The entrance was camouflaged so perfectly that even in ancient times no one could find it. It was just one of millions of stones. But the main defense was inside. The Egyptians weaponized gravity. Picture a narrow ascending corridor. As soon as the funeral procession left, workers knocked out the supports. And from above, with a thunderous crash, 3 gigantic plugs made of red granite slid down. Each weighed tons. They sealed the passage tight. Moving them from below? Impossible. Physics won't allow it. Breaking them? Unrealistic. Granite is harder than limestone. The thieves' tools would simply shatter against this rock. It seemed like absolute protection. God-tier security. But every perfect system has one vulnerability: betrayal. Egyptologists are almost certain the pyramids of Giza were not robbed by random bandits. They were cleaned out by the mafia. Most likely this happened during the Great Crisis. The government collapsed, famine struck, and people were eating grass. In such times, the fear of a curse retreats before the fear of starvation. When the robbers entered the pyramid, they hit those granite plugs. What would an amateur do? They would try to hammer through them and spend years doing it. What did the professionals do? They bypassed them. Right now, inside the Great Pyramid, you can see the so-called Robber's Tunnel. It is a rough, winding hole dug into the soft limestone around the hard granite. And this gives me goosebumps. They dug in total darkness, in a suffocating, tight space, but they knew exactly where the granite ended and the soft rock began. They didn't dig a single unnecessary meter. This proves one thing: they had a map, or among them was a corrupt priest or architect who knew the blueprints by heart. The security system worked against outsiders, but it was powerless against an inside job. We often say treasure, but what exactly did the thieves see when they burst into the king's chamber? To imagine the scale, think of Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was a young, minor pharaoh. Yet even on his mummy, they found 110 kilograms of solid gold. Khufu, on the other hand, was a giant of history, the builder of a wonder of the world. In today's money, the contents of his chamber would be worth billions. Imagine walking into Elon Musk's garage, but instead of cars, there are chariots made of solid gold. Here is what vanished forever. First, furniture, thrones and beds plated in gold sheets. Second, statues, hundreds of figures made of rare wood and faience. Third, fabrics, royal garments that cost a fortune. But the most valuable item wasn't gold. In those days, iron was worth 10 times more than gold because it was harvested only from meteorites. A dagger made of star metal was the ultimate symbol of power. All of it was taken, cleaned out. The robbers even scraped the gold dust from the floor. But the most gruesome part happened to the body of the pharaoh himself. To the robbers, the mummy wasn't sacred. It was just packaging for the jewelry. You see, during mummification, Priests placed dozens of amulets between the layers of bandages, golden scarabs, plates over the eyes and fingers. To get them, the thieves acted like butchers. They ripped off the bandages, they snapped dry bones. They tore off the head to remove the golden mask. In other looted tombs, archaeologists found evidence of mummies being thrown against walls just to shatter the hardened resin. Imagine the scene. In the heart of the sacred mountain, the smell of soot and old dust, men breaking the body of their god, burning pieces of his precious coffin just to light their work. Ancient papyri contain confessions from captured thieves. Their words are cynical. We penetrated the tomb. We tore the gold from the mummy of this god. We took everything and divided it into 8 parts. For them, it was just business. The robbery of the pyramids was a shock to the entire Egyptian culture. The pharaohs of the New Kingdom looked at the empty pyramids of their ancestors and realized, the pyramid doesn't work. Its gigantic size doesn't scare thieves. On the contrary, it attracts them. It is essentially a giant billboard that says, there is money here. That is why Egyptians stopped building pyramids. The strategy changed. Instead of screaming about their wealth, they started hiding. They moved to the Valley of the Kings. They carved tombs deep into the cliffs and buried the entrances under rubble. The robbery of Khufu changed the architecture of death forever. But you know what the irony is? In the long run, Khufu actually won. Those robbers became rich for one generation, but their names have been erased from history. No one knows where their bones lie, but Khufu, we are talking about him right now. We stand at the foot of his creation 4,500 years later. The Egyptians believed, a man is alive as long as his name is spoken. The thieves took the gold, but they couldn't take the eternity. But here is a question for you. If we found a pristine pyramid today using modern scanners, should we open it for the sake of science? Or should the peace of the dead remain undisturbed? Let me know your opinion in the comments. And make sure to subscribe. History is much more interesting than fiction.